Welcome back to the playoff special of the Pioneer Sideline. I'm Chris Hoffman. Alongside me is Kelsie Metzgar. We looked at Clint Hurdle era. Now we're going to look at the 2013 season in review. Kelsie, we mentioned in the first block, they got to the 82nd win for the first time in 20 years. They made it a bigger goal this year. They didn't just want to get to 500. They wanted to get to the playoffs, and they've done just that.
Absolutely. I think when you take a look at this season and how far this team has come, people expected more of them. They were on such a roll by mid-season that 500 wasn't good enough this year, even though it would have been the first time in 20 years. So you take a look at this team, and people wanted the playoffs. They even wanted that division title, which they just came a little bit short of, but they wanted the playoffs, and the fans got it this year.
And then we saw some career years from players. Pedro Alvarez tied for the NL league in home runs. Francisco Liriano, 16-8, threw up some of the best numbers of his career. If he doesn't win NL Comeback Player of the Year, I don't know who does, from the way he came back from a few rough seasons in years past. We saw plenty of players play their potential. Another almost MVP year for Andrew McCutchen, and possibly a Coach of the Year for Clint Hurdle.
Absolutely. You look at all the players, everyone was a contributor this year, and I think that's huge. I think you looked at, there was always a new hero this year, and I think that's what's really made the difference. You had your star players like Pedro Alvarez was coming around more, and McCutchen had another MVP type of year. But you also had the players when you were down in the ninth inning and you needed that run, and you had players like Russell Martin, who was there a lot of the times this year, and you had those key players that they might not have been the all-star, but they made the play sometimes, and they made the game-saving play that really made the difference.
And then you mentioned Russell Martin. How big of an acquisition was that for the Pirates? Someone, they got him out of free agency. He was with A.J. Burnett in New York. They worked together this year, and they worked some good magic out there on the field.
Absolutely. I think he was huge this year, and it was really big to acquire him. I mean, he made some big plays, not only throwing people out this year, but he made some big swings with the bat, and he definitely made a difference.
And then we go back to the veteran leadership. They acquire Mark Melancon, a new setup man for Jason Grilli, who flourished in his role as closer. You saw Melancon and both Grilli go to the All-Star game for the Pirates. The veterans, they came to play this year, and it really came out in young guys with first-half sensation Jeff Locke.
I absolutely agree. I think you take a look at Melancon, and I think he really showed what potential he had and showed his worth on this team when he had to take over the spot for Jason Grilli for that short time that he was out. You really could rely on him. You could rely on the starting pitchers. The pitching was great this year. And you could also really rely on that bullpen. The bullpen really got them through some of those tough times when the starters might have been having a slow day.
And then you mentioned the pitching, but we also saw a lot of young players really step up. Starling Marte in his first full season, Jordy Mercer, very clutch in spots, playing in the backup catcher role behind Clint Barmas. Lots of young players, so a bright future for the Pirates, as well as many of these players, including McCutchen and Alvarez, still have yet to reach their prime.
Exactly. You look at these players, you look how young this team is, how youthful this team is, and you thought this year, I think personally it is just the start of, what is to hopefully be a good couple of, hopefully many more years to come, Chris. You see how McCutchen, I believe he's only like 26 or so, there's still so much youth on that team with him and Alvarez and Marte. And, those are just your star players. Then they'll acquire more when, Jamison Taillon comes up. And Jeff Locke has been doing well. And this was his first full, he was pitching the entire season while other people got breaks. So I think overall, everyone did a good job.
You mentioned first full season for Locke. He definitely pitched well up until the end. You can see him burn out a little bit. But let's talk about something big that we've seen a lot of this year. The fans, they came out in support. PNC Park was a playoff-like atmosphere from almost July until now. That big 5-game series with the St. Louis Cardinals towards the end of July, early August there was big. It was a playoff atmosphere well before we saw the playoff game here tonight.
Yeah, I think you're right. You look and you saw all of those fans come out each and every single day, and I think it was huge for this team. It felt good for them. It was a momentum booster for them, and I think it only helped them and propelled them into the playoffs, and hopefully it'll help them do well again tonight.
Because where we're located right now is just right across from PNC Park, right next to the Roberto Clemente Bridge. We've just seen it, Kelsie. It's been wave after wave after wave of fans. This place is going to be packed tonight, and it's going to be one big, as they've been saying, black hat for tonight's game. So, it's going to be a one big almost a party in PNC Park tonight.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great atmosphere. It's a great atmosphere for the fans, for the city of Pittsburgh, and I think, it's been a long waiting, and I can't wait to see what tonight brings. Another
great segment there, Kelsie. We'll send it to Courtney Joden. We come back after the break. You're watching the playoff preview here on the Pioneer Sideline.